I didn't know if that was going to start or not. Welcome, Freemaces, Ears, Joey Richards. This is another edition of the Let's Talk Broncos podcast. I had to throw that out there. I like the way Muse wrote that out. I think that's what Joey usually says. So, Joey, I stole that from you. Subscribe to the channel. And then if you're over on Twitter, if you could give us a little retweet, that would help us out as well. If you'd like to get involved on the show, you got to comment. You got to join us. We are live over on YouTube. Search Let's Talk Broncos. We're going to be doing what to watch for, our bold predictions and our score predictions for tomorrow's game. Guys, short week. A lot of interesting developments. I believe the Saints were favored, and they no longer are. And that's because the bevy of injuries that they're dealing with. But the Broncos are in search of their third straight road victory, but they've had a disappointing run with the Chargers. So they're 3-3 now. It's looking like it's in the Broncos' favor now by at least 1.5 points. Those are what the Vegas numbers are. But let's take a look at the injury report. Baron Browning, Damari Mathis, Mike McGlinchey, all questionable. Baron and Mike McGlinchey coming back from IR is good news. That's a positive here. Obviously out Alex Palczewski and unfortunately Patrick Surtain with a concussion. All else said, the injury report looks pretty good, not in relation, and I don't have a new and updated one to show you guys, but there are quite a few injuries for the Saints, so much so that Spencer Rattler is starting at quarterback. So no Derek Carr. I don't know how afraid of Carr I necessarily was, but first and foremost, how are you guys feeling about the Broncos sitting at 3-3? And more importantly, Zach, I'm going to start with you. Are you out on Bo Nix? It's the question everybody's asking.
I'm not. I have to. Bree's making fun of a tweet I made today, but I just feel like you have to preface it whenever you're talking about the guy if you're going to be at all mildly critical, because people are just ready to, take it. I don't know. People are very sensitive about the Bo Nix thing, and I get it. The Broncos have swung on 20 quarterbacks over this last decade, and they're 0 for 19 right now. And I get the fear about, could Nix be, unlucky number 20 or whatever it is. And so anytime you hear something that suggests it might be going down that path, it's stressful. And I get that. But, where I'm at is let's just talk about the good and the bad, what we're seeing with the player. And yeah, that's why people tune into Let's Talk Broncos. I think we do a good job delivering all the sides of it.
Yeah, usually I would come in here and just automatically disagree with Zach because it is the Let's Talk Broncos podcast. But in this circumstance, I can't even. Earlier, after the game, I put out a tweet where it was just me laying out, like, yes, there are some negatives, but also there's so much time, and you shouldn't rush to a conclusion. And I had like 12 people tell me to chill. So I'm on Zach's side. I don't know what's the right answer here. I don't know if you can give a right answer or something that pleases the entire crowd in this circumstance, because if you even shed a little bit of negative, everyone will blow it up to make it seem like you hate Bo Nix, like you are just completely off of him. Meanwhile, it's like he's a rookie quarterback. He's working through issues, and are we just not allowed to acknowledge the issues? Like, we're recapping the game. I'm sorry. It just kind of is what it is. So yeah, not out on Bo Nix. I'm going to preface it. I'm going to keep the rules going, but at all. But there definitely are some negatives there that should be discussed.
No, you can have your criticisms. I mostly wanted to pose the question because there are legitimate concerns about the Denver Broncos offense, and the Saints defense does really well in the red zone, but they are lacking outside of that. I know that's going to tie into some of our what to watch fors, but I wanted to start off kind of talking about Sean Payton's return to New Orleans. Little bit of a hostile environment. Do you guys think he'll be welcomed with open arms? I know it's a big part of the story of Sean Payton's tenure with the Denver Broncos. This matchup is primed for prime time. Zach, do you think this plays into how the Broncos might perform, or is it just another asterisk that will be placed on this game, regardless of the outcome for the Denver Broncos?
I mean, I think it's definitely a pretty big factor on just a few different levels. This is going to be, and he said it in his presser on Tuesday, I think, but this is Bo Nix's first time at any level of football, turning around and playing on this limited rest. And I'm not worried about that from a wear and tear sense, but just him, learning the game. I think one thing we have seen, through these first 6 weeks, and cycling back to our first little conversation there, totally understandable for a rookie to have the game coming at him fast early on in his career. But I think right now we're seeing the game come at Nix pretty fast. And that's especially evident in the first half as he's like kind of settling into things, I feel. He has even less time to prepare this week. Does that make it worse? Does it maybe make it better? Some of the times we've seen him play at his best and is when he's been up tempo and playing a little more freely. And then, Superdome is a rough place to play. It's loud, the whole dome atmosphere. And I was just listening to an interview with Justin Pugh where he listed off his three least favorite places to play. One of the three was the Superdome, and he said the Superdome was in his bottom three just because the facilities are terrible. They're having to fill up trash cans with ice water to do their like cold baths or whatever. Like he was talking about it. It's ridiculous that an NFL team has that bad facilities. So does that rattle the Broncos? Just it being such a bad setup, something that maybe this young team isn't used to. And then, of course, there's the Dennis Allen, Sean Payton of it all. They went against each other in practice for several years in a row. They're both going to know what each other's going to want to throw at the other. And it's a little interesting to see like who gets the advantage there. The Broncos offense has been struggling. The Saints defense gave the Chiefs their best performance of the season, and then, gave the Bucks their best performance of the season in the form of a 50 burger.
Yeah, there is a lot here to look at. As far as the just how fast the turnaround is for Nix, I think you nailed it, Zach. There are two different ways to look at it. Maybe he does just play more free, knowing that you just cannot process the same amount of information and like the amount of days are given, and you just see a more free version of Bo Nix, one that relies on his athleticism more. Like right now, that's the only, like that is the big positive in his game. So you want to see him go out there and just throw the ball around and be good in that. And we really haven't seen much of it. We haven't seen a consistent game, but I could see this one where it is just a little more free. On the other hand, especially with Sean Payton as your coach, as meticulous as he is, I think there are some positives and negatives to him being as meticulous. Like there really are. And especially for a rookie, I think that could be a lot of information to process. So that shorter turnaround could honestly help. I don't know. As far as the fans' reaction to Sean Payton is something that I was thinking about. Guys, do you guys think he gets booed or anything like that?
I kind of think so. I think it might be like scattered. Because he also did a lot of great things for that franchise, and the financial things, he might be disliked for are pretty commonplace in the NFL now. Like the Vikings, Eagles, Browns are all doing honestly more extreme versions of what the Saints ever did in terms of how they're moving money around. And all the void years and all that crazy stuff. Falcons also following suit on a lot of that stuff. So I wonder if it's still viewed as negatively by the fan base. Things definitely did end pretty sticky there. Also, all that said, the Saints have been, a Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals dysfunctional level franchise for really the entirety of their history outside the Sean Payton era. And Drew Brees, obviously a massive part of that as well. But outside that chapter in their history, they are one of, if not the losingest franchise in the league. So I do think it's interesting. Things obviously ended very messy there, but it's like Mike Shanahan, and things didn't end that messy there. But if there was a messy breakup and Mike Shanahan came back to Denver, some people might be mad at him, but I imagine others would be pretty grateful for the 2 Super Bowls and all the success and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Well, you noted that, Zach, that the Super Bowl, Had the Super Bowl maybe happened a little bit later, maybe more closely to that disjointed breakup that happened, because the NFL and much of life is a what have you done for me lately. I could absolutely see a smattering of boos that are picked up on the mics on Thursday night. Although there's a lot of people who are very appreciative for that Super Bowl run. The Drew Brees, Sean Payton statues, I'm sure, would have gone up at some point had it not been so messy of a breakup there for Sean Payton. But Joey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think even a portion of this, if I'm not mistaken, he was interested in that Miami job not even that far after retiring as the Saints coach, right? That was another piece of that.
It was reported that, and the Dolphins, I'm pretty sure, lost a pick for it. But Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, held a secret meeting on his yacht with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. And it was like, let's get this gang together in Miami and see what happens. And then obviously that fell apart. They lose some draft picks and they end up going with McDaniel.
Yeah. So like him even retiring and being open to going back in the NFL like that fast just kind of leads you to think he just left that franchise high and dry after he really tried to make something happen there with Drew Brees. Can't blame him for trying to get another one with Drew Brees, but if I were a fan of the Saints and I felt like, okay, you just left me after all of that, I get we went all in. You can sell me that dream. What you can't do is run away after the mess has been made. So I do think as a fan of that franchise, I could understand being upset. Now I would expect some boos. With it also just being a little, some fans still probably being big Sean Payton people because he did bring that team a Super Bowl. So it's going to be both, I think.
I think it is both. And Joey, it's just so interesting that you bring that up so genuinely and yet are in still solid support with the individual and the coach. But I know you can separate those things, separate the art from the artist, as you say. But I want to flip the script a little bit and talk about the defensive side of the ball, because the Broncos are down Patrick Surtain. And Joey, I know we noted it during the Chargers game live, that the plan of action from Vance Joseph needed to adapt and evolve quickly without Pat Surtain. What's the plan going into tomorrow night against the Saints? Even though they're limited, you don't want any question marks when it comes to your, I think someone Jolene put out the Bermuda Triangle of Jaquan McMillan, Patrick Surtain, and Riley Moss. So down Patrick Surtain, does that mean there's an open end to this? Is there a corner missing? I mean, literally.
Yeah, I just, yes, there is. The other part about it, though, Bree, is that the Saints, I don't think there's any boats or planes or anything that can drive into the Bermuda Triangle going into this game. They don't have any players. Like, I still feel like Levi Wallace stepping in, who honestly did have a good game this last week, is going to be able to step in just fine. Like, I don't think the Broncos will have to take a step back in the amount of man coverage they like to run. That's something that what Bree was mentioning, what we were talking about, is just like, yeah, people need to give these corners a ton of credit because it does feel like everyone's all over Vance Joseph with his philosophies and schemes right now. I'm not so sure it works nearly as effective without just having like three crazy good corners. These NFL wide receivers are really, really good. And you need corners to match up with them if you're running as much cover zero, we're all out blitzing you type stuff. And they've been doing that. Even they've gone into cover zero, the sack or the pressure didn't come. And it was still kind of a coverage sack because the corners and everything like that were in such good position. So yeah, there is some credit to that idea there, Bree.
Yeah, and the Bub Beans point comment right here is a fair one, but he's even, I think, limited in practice so far this week, and he's expected to play, but you're not going to be getting him at his best. I on the corner point, I think maybe they should consider playing a little less man just because they're so extreme there, top of the league in cover 0. And then I think they're second or third in cover 1 rate. So just, they are putting these guys on an island every single play, or not every single play, but at a much higher rate than anyone else in the league, to the Bermuda Island nickname. But I don't think that's going to change because this is Vance Joseph's default. When he was struggling or had some ups and downs, I guess is maybe a little more fair, as the DC of the Cardinals, his big explanation was, well, we're so talent poor on this side of the ball. We have like really not many assets at all invested in our cornerback group. So we're just, playing man coverage so much and blitzing so much to kind of protect our corners and keep it simple on them. That was his justification at that point in time. And now you give him unbelievable cornerback talent, and it's, well, we got to be blitzing and playing man coverage. Look at this cornerback talent we have. It can hold up. Point being, he's going to find a way to justify this one way or another. This is what he wants to do, and he's going to. I don't even necessarily think it's wrong. It's working out great, but this is his baseline. And I bought it when he was with the Cardinals, but now I see him with great cornerback talent. It's like, no, okay, so this is just what you like to do. And we'll figure out how to justify it down the road. So yeah, I think they'll keep Levi Wallace in there. And I mean, hopefully it doesn't get down to Damari Mathis. That's when things get scary. But yeah, I think they'll stay hyper aggressive and, go. I think you'll justify it by going, hey, we're a little weaker on the back end now. We got to keep the pressure dialed up. We can't give Spencer Rattler all that time back there. It'll be the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. I want to move on to kind of what my watch for is in general. And I touched on it a little bit, but I feel like if the Denver Broncos don't get off to a quick start, and I mean quick start offensively, defensively, it's going to spell a disaster of a trap game here against this New Orleans team, no matter how much they're injured. And I mean, there's question marks all over the board. I think at some point this week, Alvin Kamara was a big question mark of whether or not he was going to be able to play. And that's not to mention Taysom Hill, Rashid. There's quite a few, and I don't want to list them all off, but I do want to point to the idea that the biggest storylines around Thursday are probably going to be overshadowed by the state of the Saints roster. And if the Broncos win, there's going to be a question of whether or not they beat a team that they should have lost to. There's also an opportunity for them to capitalize on a Spencer Rattler that doesn't really spark fear in anyone's eyes, but the Broncos could potentially get sucker punched by this Saints team. So what I want to watch for is how they start and if they're able to generate any points early, because this game could be a perfect kind of storm of shooting yourself in the foot, befalling turnovers, and losing out by 3 points. Guys, how opportunistic do the Saints need to be in order to take advantage of a Broncos team that plays really well a little too late in the game? Zach, I'm going to throw that over to you first.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to solve. I think one of those things is, leaning a little more into the tempo stuff they've been doing. I think it's oversimplistic to, think they need to build their offense out of that. There are limitations on how much you can do it. Like that was, I'm oversimplifying again here, but that was kind of Chip Kelly's whole thing. And part of the reason he flamed out of the league so quick was he was killing his defense. He didn't care at all about time of possession. And, there were some great offensive successes, but it also just really caused things to struggle. And I think they should lean more into that. And I think it's benefiting Bo Nix because kind of what I said earlier, he's playing faster. He's playing more free. I think you're seeing less hesitation with him. I think he's kind of overthinking these plays too much at times. And, in those settings, he seems to just be playing looser and freer, whether it be the deficit, the desperation to go get points at the end of a half or end of the game, whatever it is, it seems to be working. If it is the tempo, all the more reason to lean more into it. At the very least, lean more into it and figure out if it is the tempo that's benefiting him there. it's also just simplifying the defensive looks he's getting. It's a lot harder to throw these disguised coverages and complex blitzes or sim pressures, with hurry up looks. You have simpler calls. You have a limited menu of calls to go to, and that can just make things easier on Bo. So I think that would be big. I also think taking some shots early. I don't think it's coincidental that the only like really good first half we've seen from Bo Nix, or even good, the only like good first half we've seen from Bo Nix was against the Bucks, where he hits 2 shots early, and then I think he was rolling the rest of that first half. I think he is, at this point, at least somewhat of a rhythm player, a little streaky. Maybe he needs to like feel inflow of the game, and I think the Broncos need to make a point of trying to get that going early. Because again, that seems to be how you get the best version of Nix.
Yeah, no, I think you're ultimately right. Absolutely. I think just finding success early, to what Bree's question was at the beginning, like, would be big for him. And that's probably why you are looking at those shot plays and like, yeah, those were, for me, it's any type of success. Like late in these games, it feels like he does a crazy scramble drill type play, rips off a big run, and the next thing you know, he's a little more in rhythm. To your point about the 2-minute offense, it's called the 2-minute offense because it's situational. You don't run situational stuff during the entire game, and there's a reason for it. Zach just pointed out all the reasons. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I do think that the Broncos need to get to a fast start, and then I also just think you also mentioned just how like you just can't turn the ball over a ton in this game. This is going to be one of those games to me where if Spencer Rattler goes out there and he's turning the ball over a ton, it's going to be bad news for the Saints. Bo Nix does the same thing. It's the same for every game. This one's just a little more different because you have 2 rookies going at it. So who's going to force the most amount of turnovers in this would be big. I saw Josh's comment about leaning on the run game. Absolutely. That's how you limit those turnovers as well. If the Broncos go out there and run the ball well, they should win this game.
Whoa, Joey, a run game. Is there one? Listen, the Saints rushing defense gave up 277 yards to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Does that spell a positive momentum spin for the Denver Broncos to get a run game going? You mentioned Bo Nix wheels, but what about the other parts of the car? They need a run game. Where is it, Joey? Is this the game that gets it going?
I really do hope so. That's definitely my what to watch for in this one. It feels like this is the least amount of return on investment you can think of as far as a run game goes. It really is. People are going to point to some of the injuries at the offensive line recently. It's not fair, though, because it's just been bad. Even when they are healthy, it just has not been effective. And when I'm talking about investment, talking about $72 million over 4 years and $51 million over 4 years to your 2 guards. I'm talking about $87 million over 5 years to your right tackle, and I'm talking $68 million over 4 years to your left tackle. And then all while having a running back in your backfield that you traded up in the second round to acquire. Why is the Broncos run offense this bad? It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. And people are going to point to Bo Nix and even Russell Wilson last year and say, hey, these quarterbacks made it a lot easier on teams to key in on the run. And probably true, absolutely true. Still shouldn't be abysmal. It's abysmal. So they have to find something here with the run game. You look at the weaknesses. I do think it's tight end, center, and running back, which is all the big issues there for the Broncos on their run game. It's kind of funny, though. This is where I do have to blame Sean Payton a little bit. All 3 of those positions are the least valued on the offensive side of the ball. You can't tell me that they couldn't have signed somebody for cheap that's getting better play than what they're currently getting, a blocking tight end, a running back, or a center. Like, these are all things. If the Broncos didn't cut Chris Manhurts, he's definitely their best blocking tight end on this team right now. There were situations where they could have improved this team, the run game, and they just chose not to.
Yeah, I mean the Chargers out there with God, what's his name from the Ravens and then the Panthers. It's escaping me right now, but they got a veteran center for like $1 million, and look how he's playing now. There were a lot of fine centers out there. The Broncos could have signed for cheap deals, and that did sign for cheap deals, even late in the cycle. Connor Williams, has been one of the better pieces of a really shaky Seattle offensive line. They signed him late in the cycle for cheap. There were just much better options than what the Broncos had out there. And I think it ultimately comes down to, I think, bad self scouting. I think they went the path they did because they did have all this faith in Alex Forsyth. And then by the time camp runs around, he's like, before camp even starts, he's back up behind Luke Wattenberg. And I could be wrong on that, but that's how it reads to me. When you look at how much they hyped up Alex Forsyth for, 12 months or so. And then, they make no moves whatsoever, no moves of any substance, I guess is maybe a better way to put it, at that position. And yeah, this is what you're left with. I think it's really weighing down the rest of the unit. We talk about how offensive line isn't defined by like your greatest strengths. It's defined by your weak links. And they've got a big one at center right now. I think that's probably part of the reason you're seeing Miners play worse this year. It's gotta be. So yeah, it's rough. They've got to find a way out of it. Thankfully, this Saints run defense offers a pretty dang good way out of it. They rank fifth to worst in terms of rushing EPA allowed per play, and fifth to worst in terms of rushing success rate per play. So they're allowing explosives. They're allowing consistent ground success. It's not quite as bad as or never mind. That's the Raiders rushing offense rather. So the Broncos should be able to exploit that. But to Joey's point, yeah, right now the Broncos are the 20th team in terms of rush EPA per play over these last 3 weeks. And then in terms of rushing, which is, the best the run game has looked probably over these last 3 weeks or so. They are 7th in rushing success rate. They just can't get any explosives. And even then, I think all the rushing numbers are being so heavily lifted by, Bo Nix going 6 for 61 last week.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Because when you look at it, Javonte Williams only has 33 more yards than Bo Nix does on the season on 20 something more attempts. What is it? 22 on 22 more attempts. It's miserable. It's absolutely miserable.
And to that point about the Bo Nix thing, it's hard to give the run game too much credit for those runs. As good as Bo Nix looks as a scrambler, because they're not designed runs. Mm-hmm. Scrambling has always been one of the most effective rush plays on like a per play basis. And just, you can think about playing Madden. If your opponent's playing like a 2-man look and everyone's way backed off, you're running 4 verts or whatever, and you've got a Lamar Jackson and I know that's Joey's entire offense on the game. You run with a Lamar Jackson or something, that's a free 40, 50 yards. And again, what Bo was doing was more complex than that, but it's a very effective running play. It's also not a designed one. It's not part of the Broncos run game, really. It's part of their passing game. So yeah, they have to find a way to, I don't know, maybe use Bo's legs some in a designed way.
Yeah, absolutely. Zach, you kind of spelt it out indirectly. And so I want to get your Zach's facts way of highlighting, how does Bo Nix take advantage of all of this? You've got the short week, you've got the hostile environment, you've got the defense, you've got the defensive coordinator. Sum it up, package it up into this, and how does Bo Nix capitalize on these seemingly negative points? What does he got to do? Because we talked about the run game, but it's in Bo Nix's hands, it's in Sean Payton's hands. How do you see that playing out here on Sunday?
I think it really is in Sean Payton's hands. Thursday, yes. It really is in Sean Payton's hands. One thing I heard this point, I think it was Stephen Ruiz that made it. And I thought it was dead on. But if you watch, Caleb Williams on Thursday, if you watch some of these Jaden Daniels games, you watch Spencer Rattler's last game even, these quarterbacks look a lot more confident, I think, than Bo Nix looks in these performances. And you get confidence as a quarterback from your coaching, from your system, from your scheme. You look at a guy like Tua, who I don't think is all that great of a quarterback. I think a lot of people don't. The reason that scheme has fallen apart without him is because of the insane trust he puts in it, and Mike McDaniel, where he's like catching that snap and immediately throwing it well before anything breaks open. And he's just like, that's where the player's going to be, and he's going to be open. And they've had, I bet over his starts these last 2-3 years, they're the number one offense in the league. So I just, and Jane Daniels, Caleb Williams, again, all these guys just look so more comfortable with what they're seeing than Bo Nix is. It's been a consistent point on our post-game reviews and whatever with Bo Nix, that he does, even what I just said about Bo Nix, trying to get him played more fast and free. And some of it definitely is Bo, but where is the confidence? Like, he is hitching a lot more. I think his vision is worse than it was in Oregon, for example. His footwork is worse. Sean Payton is supposed to be quarterback whispers probably over the top at this guy that's maximized all of his quarterbacks. And you're seeing regression from Bo, compared to his college tape. And I don't just mean in the sense that, hey, the NFL's harder, he's not, statistically producing the same way. It's weird quirks in his game that weren't there with Oregon. And I think some of that comes down to Sean Payton needs to start helping him a good bit more. I think the up tempo thing is one way to do that. I think leaning more into the RPO game is that. I think they were simplifying things the few weeks prior to the Chargers game, rather. And you saw that helping him. And then I think the Chargers game, they decided to take some training wheels off to see if he could run the proper Sean Payton offense, and it looked pretty ugly. So yeah, I think he needs to do a lot more to help him. The tempo thing's one, motion's another. This team is a extreme negative outlier in regards to motion. And I think Frankie and Robbie have, done a good job pointing out that can keep things simple for a rookie quarterback in a way. And the other teams that are really low in motion are Washington, Chicago, and whatnot. And absolutely a valid point. But the Broncos are like the only team in the 30s in terms of like percentage of plays with motion, or they're in the 20s or something. Every other team is 10+% above them. Henry Chisholm put out a good tweet today demonstrating that. Where there's such an extreme outlier. It's not just they're running motion less than everyone else. They're running motion way, way, way less than everyone else. And I do think you don't just want to run motion for running motion's sake, but you can get more, you can make things easier on Bo for sure than they're doing.
I think that's totally fair statement. I mean, when it's that big of an outlier, it's definitely purposeful. And I don't think that it's on accident that the Broncos aren't running as much motion and stuff like that. I ultimately think Frankie and Robbie are right in their thought, and this is why they're not running as much motion. I just think it's up for debate whether they should at least have a little bit of an uptick in it.
Absolutely. Zach, you mentioned Robbie and Frankie, so I wanted to give them a shout out over there. You can watch Full Field Read with Robbie and Frankie this Friday. They decided to hold off a day so that they could cover both the Chargers and the Saints game. Guys, I don't know about that. That sounds like marathon prescribed viewing for LTB viewers. If you want to watch what might be 6 to 8 hours of film review, go ahead and subscribe now. Set your notifications for Friday, and you get to watch, hopefully, a win meshed up with that Chargers game. So I know LTB Muse is excited. Maybe we'll get our promo post out before they do. But great points about that. I think that there's a lot of moving components here with this Denver Broncos team. There's some questions of what's working and what's not working, because I think the contention from all points is coming from either there's not enough happening, or there's no patience in the time where it takes something to amass. And I think both can be true, but there can also be concerns and hope. And those can blur the lines of what we're actually seeing here with this Broncos team. Yes, in a rebuild. Yes, with a rookie quarterback, that maybe isn't hitting that tip top of that ceiling yet for where he should be. Or maybe there's a lot of components around him that are making that more difficult. Because Zach, I loved your point about Quinn Miners possibly struggling a little bit this season because of the line. The line is almost always looked at by the casual observer as just a kind of conjoined unit, and we often forget that once you start seeing those injuries and those core components start to melt down, that the entire line suffers, and that affects the quarterback. And so we may be seeing this rocky upending of something that will continue to get better, but it may not be in the realm in which Broncos country has been either expecting, or maybe it just makes them uneasy. I haven't really seen anyone we follow closely just flat out say they were out and done with Bo Nix, this offense, Sean Payton. We knew this year was going to be a little clunky. We're trying to isolate what those things are so that you're more knowledgeable, so that we are more knowledgeable, and so that the fandom and the base and everyone who's choosing to watch, haters, lovers, you can downvote away, but I'd appreciate if you upvote us or like the stream. That would be great. But well, you know, we're here. We're here. I mean, it's interaction, it's engagement, right? You can mad tweet at me all you want.
If you stream and think we're so, and think we're stupid, honestly, the best way to dunk on us would be like the stream, make sure more people see how stupid we are. It would probably be the best way to get back.
Drop some comments.
Actually, even put your notifications on so you can let the other people know how bad it is every episode. Any of these, leaving a negative comment. Make sure you leave a negative comment, and push the notification so that next time you're ready to do it again.
Copy the link and send it to somebody that you hate.
Yeah, please.
I think it could work.
Tapping into a new demo here.
Share it. Tell people not to be haters.
I don't want constant adoration and nice and pleasant comments about how great we are. I just tell me how dumb I am. Thank you, and in advance. This is gonna turn out well. Full field read Broncos. Let's go. Thank you, Muse. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm not ending the stream. I'm just thanking you because I think you're all great. Hate like the stream, people. Yes, Michael, thank you so much for your support as well. Tuning in, commenting. I know there's some people commenting who are not chatting, and that's okay. If you want to get your score prediction in, you can comment it in the after the fact comment section. We'll take a look at those as well. We'll get your average together, and we will post it in our score predictions graphic. And I say we, I mean Zach. I'm not going to do that. I would forget. So time for bold predictions, which means if you've been watching along and you've been itching to get yours read, I've been liking them as I see them come across. But if you have a new one, you might get picked for this segment. Depends on how tight we're running for time. But I have been fluctuating between preventative bold predictions, like defense minded. That's my bread and butter. That's where I feel the most comfortable. So I'm going to switch it up this week because I'm upsetty that I'm not getting my results that I want. And I've noticed that a lot of people are feeling really great about Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton. That's like the one weapon everyone just really oscillates around, which I think is great. I think it's as to be expected. But there's one other target that I want you all to consider for me today, and that is the building chemistry that we saw prior to injury and now after return from injury with Devon Vele and Bo Nix. I think Vele could potentially get a touchdown on Thursday simply because it's electric. I think you immediately see how much more of a spark in the offense he is for Bo. Now, it may be later than necessary, but that's when he's getting utilized. So Sean may, hopefully, I doubt it, but God willing, throw the Joker card out there early, give Bo Nix the opportunity to sling it into the end zone, because I think Devon Vele is the perfect candidate for a touchdown score on Thursday. What say you?
A touchdown for Devon Vele. I would come in here, but I'm in a happy mood because Zach and Bree got me this mic for my birthday, so I'm not going to try to force you to add like 200 yards plus the touchdown today. I will just allow you to give that one. I'll ultimately take it just because the Broncos. I think you have a good shot at winning this one. I just think that the offense has been bad enough where I don't think, I mean, they might only have one touchdown. Is it going to go to Vele? I'm not so sure. There's plenty of candidates to have a touchdown, this game. Javonte Williams could have a touchdown. Audric Estime could be a guy that you could use for a bold prediction. He had a run last week where it looked good. Maybe he needs an uptick in carries. A lot of people in the chat were saying that. So I think that I will take you up on this one, Brie.
Somebody said that Bo Nix could have more touchdowns than Alvin Kamara, and I was trying to find that one so I could highlight it. But yeah, could be Bo Nix. He's known. He's now making a name for himself as the do it himself guy. So Zach, what are you going to do with that bold prediction? Other than shit on it.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think in this game, it's always better to take people up on their bold predictions. Our batting average on these suggests as much, but I'm passing on this one. I think it's very. Ooh, I like that one, but I'm going to pass on Breeze. I could just see it happening, and mine is a positive offensive prediction. It would feel I would feel inconsistent in my takes to bet against a Devon Villay touchdown. So I'm leaving this one on the table. I'm with you, Bree. Devon Villay score a touchdown.
No, that's fine. I love that you said that you like this one. From James August, his bold prediction was Bo Nix will have more rushing TDs than Alvin Kamara. Does that mean that you would end up leaving that bet off the table there or on the table?
I would because I've got a parlay for this weekend that or not this weekend. Dang, I just did it too, Bree. For this Thursday that plays into that. I've got what is it? I think I've got the Broncos covering Bo Nix rushing touchdown. Oh, and I did mean to bring this up on the show. Bo Nix 150 plus passing yards is plus money right now, which is definitely a critique of the offense and something maybe worthy of some reflection or introspection. But I think that's too low, even in these games where he is struggling to move the ball. Late in garbage time, he is moving the ball really well, and you are seeing him accumulate those passes. Like this week, he was at like 27 yards through 3 quarters, and ends up pretty dang near 200. I think he got over 200. So I love 150 plus passing yards at plus money. I think that was a steal.
Michael Carmelini boos your prediction, says Rattler passes for more yards than Bo. I mean, I still think that could mean he gets 150, but I don't know why 150 seemed deep to me. That's a bad inclination. Joey, would you take the Bo Nix over Alvin Kamara touchdowns?
That's a tough one. I would take it, but that's a tough one. That is a really tough one. I mean, I could see it. All Bo would need would be two passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. Like he would just need 2, and you have a very, very realistic shot at holding Kamara under that, right? I don't think Kamara is averaging 2 touchdowns a game. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. Christopher Hart says, fun fact. So we got Hart's facts. Alvin Kamara has never scored a touchdown Thursday Night Football. I didn't. That is a fun fact. I trust Christopher with his stats here. All I think about when I think about Alvin Kamara is that 6 touchdown game, and it makes me happy. Let's move on. And for the life of me, I'm sorry, guys. My brain is what it is today. I gave my bold prediction, but I was the only one to go, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. We set this up in a way where I shot myself in the foot. Zach, your turn. What's your bold prediction?
My bold prediction, I'm going, like I said, on the offense here. I like how this lines up. This Saints defense is beaten down right now, as is the offense. I mean, the offensive injuries are what's getting all the attention. They're down a lot of bodies on defense as well. And they've been struggling as a result. Again, this Chiefs offense has been struggling. Their best performance of the year 2 weeks ago against this Saints defense. Then the Bucks offense, which has been fine, good, but not elite, just dropped 50 on them. You have Sean Tucker coming off the bench. I don't know if he had a carry this season before that point in time. He rushes for like 150 yards on this defense. This is, I think, a good get right moment for the Broncos. I also think when was their best offensive performance of the season? Against Tampa Bay. And one thing that was like a common takeaway, and I think rightfully so, coming from that game is, hey, Sean Payton's familiar with Todd Bowles. He's matched up with this guy a lot. He's matched up with Dennis Allen even more. So I'm hoping They'll have some answers for the offense here. I also think it's a great spot for the defense to thrive on Spencer Rattler, give him some short fields. So my prediction, the Broncos score 30 points without any defensive scores. Some of their scoring performances this year, Seattle, buoyed by 4 points of defense. Their best scoring performance of the year against the Raiders. They only break 30 because you get the Pat Surtain pick six. This time they're not going to need a pick six. The offense is going to score 30 points.
I will take you up on that.
Or field goals. To be clear, field goals and extra points also count. Offense will score, but those groups, I don't want that to come back to burn me. Sorry, Joey.
No, that's absolutely fine. Either way, I'm taking you up on this. Listen, it would be a beautiful thing if this happens, Zach. It would be beautiful. The Broncos went out there and scored 30. That would really put some wind in their sail, I think, right? That would be super exciting for everybody. This is bold. I have to give you credit on it, Zach. This is usually you would come in here, something about the Broncos scoring 12. No defensive help, something around those lines. 30. we came in for bold predictions on our right foot. So I will take you up on this one. The offense is going to have to prove it to me first. They're going to have to prove it to me. I'm not allowing or giving them anything until they show me they can at this point. Their run game, we highlighted that earlier. Their pass game, like where have they been successful on offense? It's really the successful part of their offense this year has been Bo Nix's athleticism in making plays with his athleticism. Consistently successful, I would say, at least. So I'm going to take you up on this just because they're going to have to prove it to me.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I'm going to take you on this as well, simply because 30 points is rich. Over and unders at 36.5. I mean, I understand the thinking. The conversation here is without the defense scoring. That's a part of the equation with the Broncos scoring that many points. So,
and a comment that Muse asked, and I want to just clarify too before answers are given, even though you're both already taking it. I'm not going to count a special teams touchdown. I think I probably could have gotten you on the hook without specifying that and tried to bend Weasley. Only offensive touchdowns and whatever kicking points there are. If they get in field goal range and they kick a field goal, I'm not knocking that against me. If they get a short field because of a takeaway and that leads to a field goal or an offensive touchdown, that counts. No defensive touchdowns, no special teams touchdowns. That won't count towards the total. Sorry.
Thank you. I've got, oh my gosh, my cat's on my keyboard now. Sorry, guys. If something happens, that's Lucy's fault. Got to shout out Emily. All of a sudden it said there was a marker. Something happened. I don't know. Blame Lucifer. Emily Live says, bold prediction. Sean gets celebrated by Saints fans at the beginning of the game, gets booed in the fourth quarter by the same fans as Broncos have an easy win. I love the positivity, Emily. And I was trying to get to your point sooner. But Joshua pointed out, deserved a shout out. So I then thought, yes, that does deserve a shout out. So shouts out to you, Emily, from us, the rest of the LTB crew, and the LTB community. Thanks for watching. And I guess thanks for commenting too for your first time as well. We appreciate you.
I really like that one, and I could see it playing. And again, yes, thank you, Emily, very much. But I like the bold prediction a lot because I do think it could line up that way. You're talking about the booing and whatnot earlier. I forgot to mention it's Drew Brees going into their Ring of Fame, whatever their equivalent's called. They're having that ceremony during this game. So I do think, now I could see that leading to just a more rowdy Saints fan base as a whole. I could also see it going the way of, everyone has those great Drew Brees years on their mind as they're going into this game. And they're excited for the whole Drew Brees celebration. Sean Payton is, obviously connected to that. And so maybe it is at first, more of a celebration. And at the end, when the score is, in the Broncos' favor, they're feeling a little more salty about it.
Yeah, I think this is a good one. I just think he's going to get booed the entire time. That's my take. So I can't take you up on this one, or I will take you up on it. I think when he comes in, it's going to be booze mixed with some cheers. By the end, it's just going to be booze. I think that would be more my speed.
I just don't know how you differentiate it from if they're booing because the Saints are losing, if they're booing. I mean, man, if you ask the Broncos fans who they were booing on Sunday, I don't know if there's a whole ton of them that are booing Bo Nix. I think that there's a lot of them just booing because they're frustrated. What a gorgeous day, though. How could you have been that sad out there? What happens if the Broncos lose? That's a great question, Mr. Rocket. I start pulling my hair out. And I feel like doing that already. So the chances are 90s, high 90s.
Yeah, I'd probably start draft content. Zach probably starts looking at quarterbacks. There's a lot that can happen here.
We'll be covering it here. And we'll react to it on Monday. So if you're new here, you don't know what we do on Mondays, you get a what was good, what was bad, what was ugly, stock up, stock down. We come in, lament, have therapy with you and everyone else. So tune in on Mondays. Tuesdays, you have Mario Vitanzi and Patrick Coyote on altitude adjustment. Wednesdays are the trio once again as we preview this current week's matchup. I almost did it again. And then on a Thursday or Friday, depending on how we're all feeling, Fulfilled Read comes down the pike. And also, special treat for you Buffs fans, we have a whole new channel, Let's Talk Buffs. Go ahead and go on over there, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I am just shy of 6,000. I've resorted to begging. No, you don't, Michael Carmelini, you liar, you thief. I will not listen. I won't listen to. Will you vote? I wish I could. We got to drop a poll, ladies and gentlemen. I have made a mistake. My hair is no longer my brand, and I hate it. And so, if you could go ahead and tell me what you think about it, and you can be gentle or rude, or I don't care. Yes, it is the Let's Talk Brie Hour because I run the. Felt like bringing it up, even though I promised the guys I would stop talking about it. Here we freaking go. Let's go back. I got one more before I get to you, Joey. I'm so sorry. I'm running behind. Josh Seckline said his bold prediction was Audric Estime is the Broncos' first 100-yard rusher of the season. I want it to happen. Joey, what do you think?
I'll take you up on this, but this is a fun one. If the Broncos crack their run game because their rookie running back came in and played really good, had 100 yards,
awesome.
This would be like the best result I could possibly think of other than Zach's bold prediction where they're just scoring 30 in however the hell way. So if this can happen, this is huge stock up for the Broncos offense just generally. So yeah.
Yeah, it would. It'd be a tremendous development, whether it happens this week or down the line. And these next 2 weeks, covered how the Saints run defense is so rushed. The Panthers might have the worst run defense in the league. So these next 2 weeks are a great runway to maybe get Estime or again, just anyone else in this run game going. Saw the flashes those last 2 weeks from Javonte. I'm hoping maybe not this Chargers game, but the 2 weeks prior, I'm hoping maybe he can refine that against a run defense that isn't so elite. Again, that they kind of had a little something going those 2 weeks prior to the Chargers game. Chargers have, top 3, maybe top 1 run defense in the league. That absolutely shut down the Broncos ground game. And now we're feeling lower on them, but maybe against this type of opponent, it looks much more like it did against the Raiders, and even against the Jets there some. So yeah, I'm optimistic. I think I would definitely take it up just because he's probably got like 30 rushing yards on the season right now. So it's a safe bet to bet against him getting 100 in a game. But I could see it with his vision. And again, the Saints defense, I think it's exploitable. He's maybe the most talented back in this room. So who knows? It could work out.
There is such a teetering line there of exploitable and possible. I just don't know if it's going to take that extra step. We all want it to happen. We all know it would lead to success on the offense. It would lead to more production from Bo Nix, but will it happen? I don't know. I don't feel great about it. And it means points or no points for me. So I have to take that bet. Sorry, Josh. Fun though. Thanks for the bold. We love bold predictions here on Let's Talk Broncos. Joey, what's your bold prediction for Thursday? Were you fist pumping or eating cereal? It was like in the
Is
middle.
that you eat cereal? I was
Well,
fist
it was
pumping.
like here. It was like in this general. It was just
Doing the
gotcha.
Z.
Thank you.
No, I was fist pumping because we love bold predictions.
Okay, if you love bold prediction, you'll love this, Zach. I think the Broncos force 4 turnovers this game. 4 turnovers for the Broncos defense. A lot of turnovers. I'll give my reasoning after. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Actually, I'll just give it now because it's so obvious. The Saints are putting in a rookie quarterback just the same way the Broncos are, but their surrounding pieces are going to be even worse this week. Spencer Rattler looked really good in that one performance he had. Let's see it happen twice with lesser weapons even and against a better defense. I want to see it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So you're saying 4 takeaways, right?
Yeah, they
for the
force
Broncos.
Yep.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Can it be fumbles? So can it be fumbles recovered by the other team?
Yeah. So it could be. So if the Broncos, it could be fumbles or interceptions.
But the Broncos have to recover the fumble, not just creating
a takeaway.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure. And, that's what you already asked. Sorry, I was off a second.
No, you're all good. I'm glad you clarified. I don't want Joey to try and weasel his way out of this one too. I got to take it. 4 takeaways is just so much. 3 would have been bold. 4 is especially so.
I felt like you're going to give me crap. That's why I went. I had it as 3, but I was like, we're on the bold predictions episode 4. Give me 4.
I love it. Free points. I'll take it.
I would even. I mean, shoot. I'm not necessarily saying you needed to parlay it, but I see like a strip sack, and I wish I would have went bold on multiple sacks for this Denver Broncos defense, because I think they're teetering on the edge of greatness there with how they're producing those week in and week out. So Joey, I like it. I don't think it's too superbly bold that I don't think it can happen. So I have to leave that bet sitting out there because I like the 4.
Okay. All right. Hey. Okay. All right. I personally would even take my own bold prediction on this one. I'm just going off vibes. It's good vibes. What a win.
Good.
I also think it could happen. Spencer Rattler back there. Terrible group around him right now. That team is kind of just falling apart right before our eyes. Right before they had a crazy start, and everyone was talking about Kubiak being like the greatest thing we've ever seen in our lives. To now, it's a lot to overcome with all these injuries. You're on the second string quarterback. It's not looking good over there.
I'm just glad we got to hear Joey, reimagine the opening to a Macklemore song. That was fantastic. I like the all right, okay.
You went Macklemore, I went Lil Jon. Like, okay, yeah, let's go.
Which one is that? The ceiling can't hold us, whichever one that is.
I don't know. Everything is thrift shop to me when you talk about Macklemore.
Say the bingo. I can't think of the right one.
We love good family friendly podcasts. Since when? All right. I'm going to move off the bolds. Although someone said, I just want to highlight these. We're not going to take or leave them, but Victory Lap had Mims gets his first TD, and then he went more bold because I don't know if he felt like he had to be more bold in order to get featured. He went Franklin and Mims get a TD. So we're going super bold. Love a Victory Lap. I think a lot of these are super possible, but that's the thing that you want with a bold prediction, right? You want semi-plausible, but mostly deniable. I don't know.
I'd bet that either Mims or Valet get on the board this week. Again, I think the offense is going to have a good week this week, and Mims got his way out of the doghouse. He's been making more plays these last few weeks. He feels due, and then Valet feels super due with how good he's looked in the 2 games he's played.
Valet does feel due, so much so that when I was reading my note, I had to read it phonetically like I do everything else, and it's so frustrating. Because we've done that so much on this show where we're like correcting it and saying it and correcting everybody else, and I just want to own up that I'm having a rough day. So, thanks LTB viewers for being kind and not so rude, and for Muse for not copying or creating too many weird clips of me today. That would be great. I am indebted to you. Okay, score predictions time. I already mentioned it to start the New Orleans 1.5 home favorites, but the injuries mounted and it casted quite a large shadow of doubt. The short week, all the other things the Saints are dealing with. They're seeing 3 games in a 10-day span. It's just looking not great for them. The over under 36.5, which means it's probably going to go over, and the Broncos are probably going to lose. But I'm going, and I have to do it. Broncos 19-10. I do not think they're going to get 30 points. Thank you, Zach, for changing the banner. And I'm hoping that it's a higher scoring game, but I just don't. I love Joey's point. Until you prove to me differently, I'm going to continue to doubt you. And I'm going to continue to come back with like these low scores and these, I don't know if they can score another touchdown on top of that. And it's probably going to be a defensive score because that's how they roll. And then Joey will win his bold predictions and get a point, but not for me.
Yeah.
Per usual. That'll be Zach's fault. Drop your score predictions now. Tell me how wrong I am in the comments. Drop yours live if you're watching. If you got score predictions, I want to highlight one before I get to y'all. Broncos 27, Saints 16. From Joshua Nethery. That one's a little too bold. So score predictions, Zach. Where are you landing on? I'm always interested to see where you're landing because I don't take yours seriously anymore. If we're being honest.
I'm top of the standings, Miss 11th place. Talking from 11th place, I'm in 2nd place, and we're saying my score prediction shouldn't be taken seriously.
That was disrespectful.
I've never fallen this. So you see why I'm doing it is because I'm an asshole and I'm mad about it. But the thing is that like, yeah, I shouldn't be that far down the standings. This is absolutely ridiculous. I've never struggled this much in score predictions, game predictions. The Broncos have been unpredictable. So I'm interested in yours simply because I want to know where your head's at. How do you keep doing this? Is that a better way to put it?
Yeah, no, any flattery, smoke blowing, I'll take it. You know, I'm going even more bold, and this is very risky. Admittedly, just because we've got the 2 games going on. There's the bold prediction game. I also just cited the score prediction game. I've done well in it by consistently predicting the Broncos and their opponent to score, you know, in the teens, maybe at best low 20s. I'm going crazy this week. I got to match my bold prediction. I'm going to stay consistent with my takes. I'm saying Broncos 31. I'm saying Saints 19.
Oh my God.
All right. Put that on the score prediction graphic. Zach, you're taking this week. I'm taking over the lead. I don't know how far down I am really even. But
I don't think you could Actually, you could. If you get first and I get last, you could mathematically pass me.
There you go, buddy. It's over for you. I have the Broncos winning as well, so probably I can't win. But I have the Broncos winning as well. 21-14 is my score prediction. The Broncos are going to have to prove me wrong on offense. Why I have them scoring 21 also, though, is just because I predicted 4 turnovers. I imagine some of those lead to points. 21-14.
Goob says, hey guys, love the content, never watch live, but always watch the next day. Goob, we're live right now, man. Shout outs to you. Way to make it here. We're glad to see you, as the Let's Talk Broncos count is letting you know. Score predictions, I love it. Michael Carmelini says 17-13 Saints, show me. So we're close in where we think this is going to end up. Listen, guys, what the NFL and what the Broncos have shown us is we just don't know. And we always think it's a little bit better or worse than it really is at the time standing. So catch our instant reaction show post game. Yeah, I don't know. Zach looks like he's trying to do something, figure something out while he holds his mic. I just want everyone to like kudos to Zach while he holds his mic during the entire program.
Yeah,
Zach's the real MVP. That's great work. Also researching stats and talking to all of us. It's just fantastic.
This from Bree is far more disconcerting than all the insults I normally get. This is far more concerning.
yeah, no, you probably should be worried.
That's the thing. I feel worse now. You know, when she's taken me down, it's now I'm like, is there ricin in my food? Like, what's going on?
What exactly? I would be expecting something in the group chat, something very mean later. I think that's the only way I would feel safe.
Yeah. Also, talking about how she's having a rough day. Most people aren't normally just nice out of the blue on a rough day. It's suspicious. Red flags.
I've left something on your porch. You're welcome. I am always like this. Just ask all of the people close to me. I am a freaking delight. All right. We appreciate you watching. I was gonna ask Joey, and I'll put him on the spot. Joey, when is Joey's question of the day returning?
Whenever we would like it, except for today because I don't have one. So if we want those to return, the OG fans remember Joey's question of the day. Zach, we had horns going, we had graphics, we had it was crazy. So yeah, next time.
Next time. Yeah, graphics. See, we got to figure out more
Old
Joey's.
font and everything. I'll have to update it.
Yeah.
I think there was the Joey Chestnut was also on one of those, but we may have removed it.
There's multiple famous Joeys.
That one was not putting that one was a crazy one.
Muse doesn't know Joey's question of the day. I thought Muse was OG. The clues continue to trickle through.
Wow.
Muse doesn't know Joey's question of the day.
Interesting. New diehard fan. Shout out to you, Muse. Shout out to everyone who was new and commenting today. I saw more of those comments.
Everybody. Shout out to Browntown who's in here, whose comment made me laugh. There's so many people in here. We thank you. We appreciate you. Leave us some comments too if you think of something after the show, and we'll refer to them. I never know how to end the show. So good night and go Broncos.